bylaws are woefully inadequate, and will you immediately appoint a standing bylaws committee with the directive of modifying the AZGOP bylaws to mirror the Texas GOP bylaws?
Thank you. I know Colonel Allen West, who's a good friend of mine, but I don't know his bylaws in Texas. But I don't like to make campaign promises. I already reached out to members of a bylaws committee to run a bylaws committee to be appointed in February, because I think the previous chairs keep them limited on purpose so that the body doesn't have power. So that's a big yes. Thank you.
Okay, and Corey, the same question. I can reread it for you.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, I think the one thing that I have heard consistently from literally everybody that gets really involved is the bylaws are a travesty. In some cases, I believe they don't even run up chronologically with how things have to order themselves. And so yes, the simple answer is there needs to be a committee to do a rewrite of these. I'm not familiar with Texas bylaws, and if you are, I'd love to talk to you, but I think there's probably nobody here. But yeah, I mean, it needs to be rewritten for sure.
Okay, thank you, and keep that microphone because you're going to go first on this one. Will you commit to supporting a People's Proposition Ballot initiative of 1 day, 1 vote, paper ballot with ID, no machines, hand count?
I support, so the simple answer is yes. The more exclusive and more including answer is I've supported those things in the legislature. I actually pushed forward, Representative Liz Harris is in the audience. I pushed forward her bills on those exact same topics. It's something I believe in, and that's the most secure election you can have. So yes.
Thank you. And then Gina, same question. Will you commit to supporting a People's Proposition Ballot in that regard?
Yes, but I'm going to suggest to the people that you do it as a referral, so you save yourself maybe $1.5 million, and because they'll challenge your signatures in court, but if the legislature puts it straight onto the ballot, you don't have to go through that part of the process. And we did, I've always supported that for a very long time, but the problem was, and I don't want to insult anybody's representative, but we couldn't get it past Ken Bennett in the Senate. And that's why it didn't come out. So Ken Bennett is no longer in the Senate.
Keep the microphone for your next one. So as you know, the AZGOP chair is an unpaid position. Please provide us with some detail on how you will support yourself and your family during the course of your term in this position.
Thank you. So I work for Restoration of America, a national organization whose mission is to destroy communist China and eliminate Planned Parenthood. That's what I do for a living. I'm the executive director of the Voter Reference Foundation. That's part of that organization. I publish voter rolls online, and I promote voter list maintenance. So if you go to voteref, voteref.com, I have 33 state voter rolls posted so that the public can do oversight, and I will continue to do that. And that's been my dream, is to have clean voter rolls.
Thank you. And Corey, the same question, which you sort of already answered earlier, so feel free to stray a little bit. But
I can stray. I can do it all day. The simple answer is I currently manage a pest control company, and people have asked, oddly enough, the amount that the GOP chair gets paid, everybody wants to tell me, it's zero, right? Yeah, I do, guys, I get it. Here's the thing, I manage a pest control company, it's well run. I was able to be in the legislature at the same time as managing that, and that required 4 days a week in person with hard schedules at the Capitol. And it was for 6 months or longer, depending on how bad it went. And then for 2 years. It's not something that's a problem for me. So,
thank you. Keep the microphone. Next question. What principles guide you when you make decisions?
Oh, that's so good. The ultimate principles are freedom and liberty. And for fun, as I would drive up to the Capitol, I would listen to the Federalist Papers and basically freedom-minded people. That is, at the end of the day, that is as American as you can get. Freedom and liberty is what drives us, because we all know what happens when, again, I'm from Pima. We see what happens when the government gets out of control, or really just gets too much control. They dictate, and normally it ends up in many other countries with violence. And the best way to prevent that is freedom and liberty.
Thank you. And Gina, same question. What principles guide you when you make decisions?
Thank you. So I believe that we were born with inalienable rights that God gave us. I believe that we give the government part of our power for them to protect us, which they haven't done. And there are three decisions, three kind of guiding things that I ask myself as the chair, right? and I have to get the right answer to all three or I don't do anything. One is, does this help us win? That's all your chair should be focused on, is does this help us win, okay? Two is this a core function of the state party? And three, does it hurt anything? That's what I do as your chair, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Thank you. Oh, keep the microphone. So what are your plans to win back the governor's office and take back the 2 U.S. Senate seats?
I think your goal of 100,000 per year is amazing, and I have a goal of 40 million to raise that over the next 2 years. But we'll get help. We're the only competitive gubernatorial in the country, so the Republican Governors Association is going to help us. This year needs to be hit the left every day, up and down the ballot, up and down the ticket, until they're as squishy and soft on the outside as they are inside. Their little evil works as hard. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take them down, and then when you all deliver a primary winner, then we lift them up. That's it. That's how we win.
Thank you. And Corey, the same question. You can repeat it if you'd like. What are your plans to take back the governor's office and take back the 2 U.S. Senate seats?
So I think what made us successful in 2024, yes, we had lots of money, yes, we had a lot of grassroots, and that's all very true, but we had real strong message discipline. And we were able to actually highlight the awful record of a current president. But here's the thing, we've got an awful governor. And we've got 2 awful senators. And what we can do, and I think, like Gina said, we're going to have a lot of money coming in. We're the only competitive governor's race, and I think that money's going to come in really one way there because we're the competitive race. But we need to mobilize the grassroots to get out there and make the connections and build the relationships with the people. This isn't about one election. We've got to be able to win multiple elections. We can't lose the state. And you do that by building relationships on a one-on-one basis, activating the grassroots, and then deliver.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, why, in your opinion, is the AZGOP so secretive and not transparent with their business and spending?
Well, I'd actually have to have a very specific thing to go over. I'm not going to speculate on the behavior of the party in the past. Actually, I'll only speak to the party of the past, just so it's fair.
Oh no, speak about me.
No. So at the end of the day, I think in the past, the party has done really, really, really bad things, and the reason why you are secretive is that's typically the reason. And they have been growing, or the grassroots has been growing for years. And as the grassroots continues to grow, the only way they can hold on to power is by deceit and special actions to try to keep the grassroots down. I think you've seen that for decades. I plan to change that.
Thank you. And Gina, same question. Why is the AZGOP, in your opinion, so secretive and not transparent with their business and spending? These are the questions that the PC submitted.
Okay.
So I think that the amazing Jim O'Connor mentioned Gina Maloney because there's a lot of people who are hearing things that she said, so I'm just going to go there. So I am not going to work with a person that goes on Twitter and calls the AZGOP racist because they didn't like my Eat Less Kittens yogurt. I'm not. Right? I'm not going to bring someone into like the strategy that's publishing emails of the XCOM on Twitter. Like, these are problems. We're trying to beat the Democrats. So, but I am more transparent, I think, than any other chair you had. We have a budget. We publish our all financials. We send them out quarterly. I am all about the transparency. That's what we believe in the election integrity process, is we have to see how things are done. So I think I'm giving you more than anyone else would, and I would continue to do that, and that's, kind of how we have to roll. That's campaign finance law. The first thing I did was try to figure out what the hell did Jeff DeWitt do, what the heck did Jeff DeWitt do with this building space? And I immediately disclosed it to the XCOM. We gotta get out of there, guys, right? But, I can be just as transparent as I can, but I'm also not gonna share the strategy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Keep the mic though. So how do you intend to work with Republican organizations and private organizations regarding sharing voter data?
Oh, I love this one. 16-168F sentence 2 says you can't take the voter rolls that you get from the county recorder and give them to a third party group without a very specific contract. I don't think it's the place of a third party organization to take over for the PCs and the LDs and the counties and the AZGOP. So if you want to work together, we want to work with you. I shared the data at the request of the Trump campaign with Elon Musk's PAC. with a contract with America First Action and with America Majority. So there's a very careful way you have to do the data. And I think, one of the reasons we were successful is this is the first AZGOP in my whole time in the party that has worked with the MCRC as partners and not tried to babysit them and tell them what to do.
Thank you. Before the same question, how do you intend to work with Republican organizations and private organizations regarding sharing voter data?
Well, I think actually Gina's position is rather correct. And so there's very limited ways that you can do that, and it's got to be specifically advantageous to the party to do so. I know that there's a concern out there about selling data and then using it for other reasons. And again, that law would be to prohibit those types of things. So only in the instance where it is specifically to the benefit of the party as whole and winning elections up and down the ballot would that even be reasonable.
Thank you. The next question, to keep the mic. What are the state goals for 2025? And do they include working to ban geoengineering? That's a tough question.
I guess I'd have to ask the definition of geoengineering in this context.
Oh man.
So maybe afterwards, the person who asked the question can give with me.
They're messing with the weather.
They're messing up. Okay. Thank you. What was the original question? I apologize.
Yeah, the original question was, what are the state goals for 2025, it's general, and do they include working to ban geoengineering, that's specific?
And so I think first and foremost, the purpose of the party is, again, to get people elected. So you need to fundraise, you need to get as many small donors involved. Again, I think the big money is going to come to the party because we're the place where the races are going to be happening. So I think the money's going to be coming in. At the end of the day, again, it's all of the people up and down the ballot need to win. Now, does it specifically involve geoengineering? I would say that, again, that's going to be something where the legislators, that if you want to put pressure on, Alex is sitting right here, please ask him to run the bill. He would love to, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, that's not really the purview of the party unless it's one of our planks.
All right, thank you. And Gina, same question, the curveball question of the night. What are the state goals for 2025, and do they include working to ban geoengineering?
I'm really worried about geoengineering. In my 3 questions, it's not a core function of the party. But I think a lot of the fires are arson, but I also think like some of the stuff that's happening in Maui is to get people off the land and try to put us in like a 15-minute city kind of thing. So I think that's like a hot priority. On the goals, my opponent mentioned school boards. I'm happy to send to your chair, there's a very specific campaign finance issue with how we're trying to work with the school board races. And Matt Gress has agreed to run a bill to relieve us of that burden so we can put you back on the golden tickets.
Yes.
That's very important, please. But you also have to remember you have to focus in order to win, your resources. If you go for constable and everything in the middle, you're going to deplete your resources. So you have to pick your targets. And as far as I know I'm a little wandering, but on the state issue, it is not true that everyone gives the money to the state party. They gave the money to Yuma County Republican Committee in 2022 because they did not like our gubernatorial candidate. So they didn't give the money to the AZGOP. I think they did one mailer, and that was it.
Thank you. I'll keep the mic. So the next question is, the November election drug on for weeks. Did you certify what many feel was another stolen election for the Senate?
The AZGOP chair doesn't certify elections. That gets done by the Secretary of State. But I do think there's a problem with the length of the election. I was a little chagrined to see my chair on TV with a sunburn when we were still counting in Pima and Yuma. I didn't go to the ball in Mar-a-Lago because I didn't leave the state until every ballot was counted. But part of that is a bill that we're working on right now, SB 1011, to speed up the processing. And that's a huge part of what we have to do. The longer it goes on, the worse it gets. And I'm working with President Trump's team on an executive order to force them to stop counting on election day and to make all federal elections one day only.
Thank you. And Corey, again, it's a verbatim question. The November election drug on for weeks. Did you certify what many feel was another stolen election for the Senate? But please expound.
I assure you I did not certify the election. No, it's the funniest thing. The election goes for 2 weeks and the Republican loses. What's the odds of that? I would say that this one just happened, just like 2020, just like 2022. The longer they count, the less good it is for us. And so that needs to be a 1 day in person with ID. Make sure that it's 1 day and not for 2 weeks. That needs to happen.
Thank you. The next question, what is your plan if the RNC refuses to support AZ candidates again like they did in the 2024 election? You're first.
Okay. Well, first, I think it's the job of the chair to make sure that they do. I mean, we need to make sure that we build those relationships that regardless of the candidate, we are getting fully funded and that we're working with the party to get Republicans elected. That's a relational thing. That is making sure that regardless of the candidate, and that's going to be the case really, again, up and down the ticket. There's going to be specific candidates that some people won't like. We need to make sure that we are all on the same page. We are unified with a single purpose to get them elected. And that's going to be relational. That's got to be going to the people, making the contacts, and making sure that we're funded.
Thank you. And then Gina, same question. What is your plan if the RNC refuses to support AZ candidates again like they did in the 2024 election?
Thank you. So let's take 26. If the RGA doesn't like our candidate, they're not going to give us any money, just like they didn't give us the money for County 22. That's just a fact. So I think I've demonstrated the ability to raise money elsewhere. I have heard people saying, RNC, you have $30 million on the table and they don't like you. Not true. They love the Gina. I fight with them, okay? If they do something that's not good for the people of Arizona, I'm going to call them out. I don't know when we became best buddies. I respect them and I work with them because when you put me in the chair, you're putting me in as a member of the RNC. But when they tried to delay my election litigation, they did not give us the money for all of our lawsuits this cycle. I don't know why. I don't think it's just, we don't like Gina, that's ridiculous, or swing state. I think it's because they don't like our judges that won't listen to us when we get robbed, okay? Right. But I went to raise $680,000 myself, and I'm waiting to file 2 of the appeals on the voter list maintenance case and the quo warranto against Governor Hobbs, because who does she think she is? Because she doesn't have the right to do those things. Until after the election, I have respect for my opponent, because if I'm not in the chair, I don't want to tie him to litigation. But we have to be able to go out with, I've demonstrated I have a network and I can raise the money by myself if I have to. That's what we're going to have to do if they don't like our grassroots conservative candidates that win our primary. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have time for just 2 more questions. Gina, did you support and vote for Carrie Lake in the last primary and general election, yes or no?
Yes.
Same question for Corey. Did you support and vote for Carrie Lake in the last?
Hang on. I shouldn't tell you my primary vote, but it's too late. Yes.
Did you support and vote for Carrie Lake in the last primary and general election, yes or no?
Yes, and I openly endorsed her.
Thank you. And the last question we have time for is, do you promise to expel any member of the Republican Party of Arizona who has fundraised for Democrats while a Republican is in good standing against them? And that's for Corey first, sorry.
So in the past or currently are 2 different things. If you have a Republican that is fundraising for Democrats, they need to be expelled. That's simple. If they've done it in the past, I mean, they could have been a former Democrat. I mean, I know that many in this room in the past may have been a former Democrat and done stupid things because you were a Democrat. But if you're a Republican now and you're fundraising for Democrats, then yes, you should be expelled.
And Gina, same question. Do you promise to expel any member of the Republican Party in Arizona who has fundraised for Democrats while Republican in good standing?
I will do what the body puts in the bylaws for me to do, and I will not take unilateral authority and start to purge people like Jeff tried to do when he didn't like people who signed the Patriot Party petition. People signed petitions when they were upset about what was done to us, and then the former chair tried to purge people unilaterally and create his own star chamber at the state party level. This is an inverted pyramid, and your AZGOP chairs on the bottom. The voters, the grassroots, the PCs, the LDs, the county, the state commitment. The chair is the very last person to make that decision. If you give me a bylaw, I will execute right on.
Thank you very much. And that's all the questions we have. Thank you to both Corey and Gina for attending. We really appreciate it. Give us another hand of applause.